Hello everyone. Through this video, we will discuss one of the most important concept of Java, which is your inheritance. By studying class and object, we have covered the concept of abstraction, where we are defining the methods by the user's choice. But whenever the end user is calling the method, they are not aware about the body of the method, but they are allowed to call that method. Also, you have implemented the concept of encapsulation of object-oriented programming concept, where inside a single class you are defining method as well as you are keeping variables inside the same body. Okay, so after covering successfully the concept of two object-oriented concepts, abstraction and encapsulation, now you are at the place to discuss inheritance. Okay, so what is inheritance is all about and why inheritance is required, everything will be discussed in this video. So before going to the depth of the subject, let's discuss why inheritance is required first of all. What is the situation is arising, for that we are going for inheritance. Let me give you a simple example. Suppose we are defining a student class. Inside the student class we are keeping all the details: name, roll number, its address, everything I am keeping inside the student class. Okay, when I'll implement the examination class for a particular institute, now there examination schedule will be there, subject will be there, which are the members of examination class. But to conduct the examination, to publish the result, I need the details of student also inside examination class. So what we'll do, there are two options. Either I'll write down once again all the details of the student like student class, or whatever is written previously, I'll reuse inside the examination class. But the second approach is the best one because I don't need to write down it again and again. I have already written once, so wherever it is required, I'll just reuse it inside another class. Let me give you one more example. Suppose in the billing section, or you can say you are defining the accounts section class. Okay, so inside the account section class, to find out the or calculate the final billing, you need to access the student details, you need to access the examination details, because if a student want to register in any subject for examination or any backlog is there, so for that also the he or she has to pay the amount in the account section. So for like examination section, one food court class is there, where the student is having food, and monthly the bill is being calculated in the account section. So account section is now having two options: either they will write down the code of student class, examination class, food code class again inside the class of account section, or whatever is written earlier along with its own data member. Like account section will have bill generation or total amount. Okay, so these are the variables of account section. Along with these variables, they need the student details, they need your examination details, they need your food code details. Okay, so instead of writing the student class, examination class, food code class again, what the account section will do, they will only access the details of student class, examination class, food code class inside it. Okay, so this is what the work of code reusability. Okay, so instead of writing the code again and again, you write it once, and wherever it is required you reuse it. That is the objective of inheritance, and that is considered as code reusability. Okay, okay, so let's discuss all these points one by one. Now inheritance is required. As per our discussion, we have seen that one class will get all the properties and behavior of another class. Okay. The reuse of methods and fields of the another class can be done. New methods and fields can be added in the current class. It represents either relationship or a parent-child relationship. Okay. So as per our discussion, we have seen all these points. Let's do one thing. We'll discuss through an example. Then again, we'll come to these points. So use of inheritance in Java. Okay. So class parent, we are having a method, show method. Base class method. We'll define another class, child class. But as child class will get all the properties of parent class, you have to use a keyword known as extends. Okay. So from that keyword, JVM will understand now you have to access all the methods, variables of parent class inside the child class. Okay. So while creating a new class, you have to use the keyword extends so that it can be understood that child is now accessing the data members, methods, or whatever the properties of parent class. Okay. I'll keep something extra here. Suppose one display method I'm keeping here. Derive class method. Okay, so I've given one more message here. Finally, I'm defining the class where I'll keep main method. Okay, so before writing inside something inside the main method, let's discuss something. Okay, so what we have done, we have defined a parent class. Okay, inside the parent class, we are having a show method. Okay, inside the child class, we are having display method. Okay, now because of inheritance, what you have discussed, now everything belongs to the parent class will come to the child class automatically. Okay, so due to inheritance, now what has happened, so method is also now available to the child class. Okay, so this is related to our real life. Whatever the property belongs to my father. Okay, property, suppose 1. Okay, this is me. I am also having some property of myself, suppose property 2. Okay, but as I am the son of my father, okay, or I am the child of my father, this property 1 is also by default belongs to me. Clear? Okay, so that means everything is available to me by default. I am not bringing those one, that is automatically coming to my class. Similarly, because of inheritance or the use of extends keyword, whatever the method is available to the parent class is automatically coming to the child class. So now the discussion is to child class. If everything is available, then why I will create the object of parent class? I don't need because to access the parent class method also I can access through child class object. So now the question or the most important point is coming, that in inheritance you have to create the object of the child class always, because everything is available to the last child class. Clear? Everything is available to the child class. So you will create the object of child class here. Done. Now ob dot display. So this is allowed because till now whatever the concept you have discussed it through different videos, we have seen that I can access the methods variables of any class by using the object of that class. But here we will see one more concept, that I can access the method or the data members of another class by using the object of another class. That means I am accessing the method of parent class by using the object of child class. This is what the beauty of inheritance. So by using the concept of inheritance, you can access the methods of another class by using the object of its child class, because everything is available to the child class. Let's check. Comparison done. Okay. Derived class method, base class method. Understood? Okay. So that means I can call the base class method as well as derived class method by using the child class object. This is what your inheritance. That means you can reuse the property, or you can access the property of one class inside the new class. Along with the new class also contains its own methods. Okay. And this is the principle of code reusability. Now coming to the same points again, and now you can relate. Okay. So one class can get all the properties of and behavior of another class. So here one class you can say my child class is getting the properties and behavior of the parent class. This is what we have discussed through the example. Now the reuse of methods. Which method? Now the show method of parent class. Okay. I can access inside the child class. Then we have given the example. New methods like display belongs to the child class. So we can add new methods fields inside the child class. We don't have any problem. It represents a easier relationship. The child is a kind of parent. Okay. And we have established the relationship between parent and child. Okay. And if anyone will ask you in any interview, if you know inheritance, what is the advantage? It's a code reusable. In a single line, you can say code reusability can be achieved through inheritance in Java. Okay, we'll go in depth. So why inheritance? It establishes a link or connectivity between two or more classes. Now you have seen the connectivity between two classes. In future video, you'll see how you'll see the connection between multiple classes. Okay. Now, inheritance permits sharing and accessing the properties from one to another class. That we have seen that parent class is sharing its properties with the child class. Child class is accessing the properties of the parent class. Now, to establish this relation, Java uses extends keyword. Okay. So, this is what the syntax in inheritance. We have already seen that you have to provide the new class name here using the keyword extends and then the existing class name. Okay, this is how inheritance you can implement. But maximum there are three categories of classes we can use in inheritance. One is a super class, okay, or that is also known as base class, parent class, or driver class. Multiple names are there, but it is in general is known as a super class, like this one. This is the first class, so I am considering this as your parent class. Okay. Then intermediate class means suppose B is inheriting A and C is inheriting B. So currently B is a child class of A as well as the parent class of C. So B is known as your intermediate class, which is a dual class or mediating class. What is the work of B? It will access all the properties of A and will share with C. Clear? Now the last one is your child class. Suppose C is the last class which is extending the any class. So C is known as your child class. So maximum we will deal with three different classes in inheritance. One is the superclass, intermediate class, and child class. This child class is otherwise known as subclass, derived class, or inherited class. Okay. So how to use all these classes and you will find the relationship between all the classes. Let's discuss. So the relationship between all these three classes, superclass or parent class is the service provider. Okay. So initially it will define some property 1, property 2, and the properties will be accessed by all its lower level classes. How? Intermediate class is accessing parent class. So intermediate class suppose having D1 and D2 as the properties. But as it is accessing parent class, so P1 and P2 will also come to intermediate class. So intermediate class actually plays the dual policy role. What is the dual policy role? It accesses the properties of upper level class and transmits to the lower level. Okay. Now child class is actually heavily loaded. Why? All this data of intermediate class along with parent class property, everything will be passed to the child class. So that means here, if the child class will have its own properties C1, C2, along with that, it will get D1, D2, P1, P2. Everything will be available to the child class. That's why this is known as heavily loaded class because everything will be available to the child class. So the properties of child class C1, C2, as well as intermediate and parent class can be accessed through the object of child class. How it can be accessed? Because everything will be available to the child class. So by using the child class object, I can access the property of intermediate class. I can access the property of parent class. This is what the relationship between all three different classes. Okay. So now we'll see the types of inheritance available in Java. So basically there are three different types of inheritance available in Java. We'll discuss one by one. So first we'll go for single inheritance. Now the example whatever we have discussed right now is belonging to single inheritance. So that means what is single inheritance? Single inheritance means one child class. Okay, only one child class can access the properties of only one parent class. This is known as your single inheritance. Okay, so let's write down one more example so that you can understand the use of single inheritance. Okay, so use of single inheritance in Java. Okay, so class parent 1 1. Here I am declaring one variable number. I am defining a method get system.out.println enter value. Okay, so I need to take the help of scanner class. Okay, so here number 1 equal to sc dot next int. Okay. So as you are using scanner class, import java dot util dot start. Done. So inside the parent class, we are declaring one variable number one method get, where we have taken the input for number one variable. So one child class I am defining, which is extending parent class. Okay, here I have declared another variable number 2, and I will find the addition. That's why I am keeping another variable result. Like get method, I am using input method to take the input for number 2. Okay, so instead of writing the code again, let's copy it and paste it. Okay, so here it will be number 2. Enter the first value, enter the second value. Done. Class demo single inheritance, where I'll define my main method. Okay, so let's discuss first, then we'll see what is the use of single inheritance. Okay, so while creating the parent 11 class, we are allocating memory for number one variable, we are allocating memory for get method. Okay, similarly, while defining child 11 class, we are allocating memory for number 2 variable, you are allocating memory for result variable, also you are allocating memory for input method, because those are belonging to their respective class. But as child 11 is extending parent 11, okay, so due to inheritance, now number 1 is also available to child 11, number 1 is also available to get method. Clear? So if everything is available to child class, I'll create the object of child class, obviously. What is the need of creating the object for parent class? No. So in inheritance, normally we will create the object of the child class where everything is available. Okay. So according to that, let's sequentially create the object and access the methods. Okay. So child 11 ob equal to child 11. Done. So as get method is available to the child class, we are calling the get method to take the input for number 1. Similarly, I am calling the input method to take the input for second variable. Okay. So everything number 1 and number 2 are available to the OB. So here I am defining one addition method to add both the values. Clear? And void show method to display the values. System.out.println addition of plus number 1 number 2 is okay. So addition of number 1 and number 2 is result. Clear? Okay. Now see the beauty of inheritance. Number 1 is belonging to parent 11 class, but I am accessing without any fear inside the child 11 class. How it is possible? I'm using it multiple number times whenever it is required. It's only because of inheritance that the child class can access the properties of parent class without any problem. Okay. So now I am calling the addition method. Then I am printing the result of addition. Okay. Let's save the file. Compile successfully. Let's execute this one. So it is asking for the first value. That means the get method of the parent class is being called by using the child class object. Suppose 25 I am entering the value. The second value I am entering, this is for the child class itself. So 35. Now the child class is accessing the value of first variable number 1 and number 2 inside the addition method and performing the addition. After performing the addition, the result is stored in the arrays variable. And finally, by using the object of child class, I am calling the show method to display the result. Okay, so this is what your single inheritance, one parent class and one child class. So a single child class is acquiring the properties of a single parent class. All the variables methods of parent class is automatically coming to the child class. The child class is having its own methods and variables. Along with that, it is allocating memory for the parent class. By using the child class object, you are accessing sequentially as per your requirement. Okay. So this is what the example for single inheritance. Now check the theory portion of single inheritance. One class can acquire the properties of only one parent class is known as a single inheritance. That we have seen. Okay. So that means from the parent class, the properties are being shared with the child class, as well as the child class is accessing the properties of parent class. Okay. So if you diagrammatically represent through syntax, one parent class you are defining. Okay. And all these properties whatever you are defining, it's sharing with the child class because of extend keyword. Okay. Now we have seen also through the example of single inheritance. Okay. So if anybody is having any doubt regarding single inheritance, you can refer the video number of times and you can understand through the example. Now coming to the next one, this is multi-level inheritance. What is the meaning of multi-level inheritance? Now here one parent class is available. The properties of parent class A is shared by class B or accessed by class B. Now class B, which is a child of class A, is now behaving like a parent for C. So B is playing the dual responsibility of accessing the data members of A and sharing with C. Okay. So it's not about a single class. You can keep multiple number of class. Like in this image, you can see one class A is the parent class, B is accessing the property, so intermediate class, C is accessing the property of class B, which is another intermediate class. Now D is accessing the property of C class, which is the last child class. Okay. So the property of A, so this is 2, this is 3, and this is C1. So P1 will come here, P1, P2 both will come here. Now P1, P2, P3, everything will be available to the child class. So that's why you have written one child class can acquire the properties of only one parent class, and that child class can act like an intermediate class to access the properties of upper level and share its properties with the lower level. Okay. So the dual work is done by the intermediate class. Okay. So let's see through the example. We'll copy the same program and we'll modify so that you can find the relationship or the difference between both the types of inheritance. Okay. So let's change the name. This is 21, 21, 21. Okay. So one parent class, one child class. We'll write down one more child class. 31, which will extend the properties of 21, where number 3 is the variable, result is the variable. Okay. So what we are doing, we are removing result from here. This addition, so everything will keep in the last child class. Okay. So here I am taking the input for number 3. Enter the third value. Okay. And here I'll modify by adding the third value. Okay. So addition of number 1, number 2 and number 3 is result. Clear? So let's see what I have done. We have defined a parent class where number 1 is a variable. Okay. Number 1 is the variable. Get is the method to take the input for number 1. Similarly, child 21 is one class which is acquiring the properties of parent 21. So along with number 2 and input method, number 1 is also available. Get is also available from the parent class. Now the last child class, that is my child 31, which is having number 3, result and get 3 method. Okay. So due to multi-level inheritance, everything will come here. So number 1, number 2 is also available here. Get input is also available to child 31. Okay. So now if I'll create the object of child 31, everything I can access. Clear? Okay. So this is what the concept of your multi-level inheritance. Done. So as per our discussion, let me create the object of child 31 or the last child class. By using that object, it is calling to get method, input method. Now it will call to get 3 method of its own class, and then it will call the addition method, then it will call the show method. Okay. So let's compile and execute it. Done compilation. So it is asking for the first value. Now it means the base class. Asking for the second intermediate class. Asking for the last child class. Clear? Now it has been processed by the last child class. All the data members it is accessing, and finally operating inside its own class and printing the value. Okay. So if you see the example, you can understand everything of parent 21 is coming to child 21. Child 21 will aggregate all the data of its own class and as well as parent 21, and finally it will pass to child 31. So child 31 will allocate memory for everything. So by using the object of this particular last class, I am accessing sequentially to achieve my objective. Okay. So this is what all about your multi-level inheritance. Now coming to the last one, hierarchical inheritance. So in hierarchical inheritance means this is our real life problem. So of a single parent, where multiple children are available. Okay. So all children are having the equal rights to access the properties of parent class. Okay. So multiple child classes can acquire the properties of only one parent class. This is very important. So how? Let's say one class A is available, class B is accessing A, C is also accessing A, D is also accessing A. Now the question will come, whose object I will create? Very simple. If I need to execute the properties of B class, I'll create the object of B. If I want to create the access the properties of C class, I'll create the object of C class, and similarly for D class. Okay. So in your hierarchical inheritance, multiple classes will access the properties of the same parent class. We'll see that through the example. Let's modify the same example. Okay. So parent, here the number one is there, get method is available. Okay. Now child 41 is accessing the members of parent 31. No problem. Okay. So it is declaring number two variable input method for its own. But now what will happen? This addition method and show method I have to keep here, because all child classes are now different. Okay. So the child 41 class will find the addition between number 1 and number 2. Okay. And it will also print the result of number 1 and number 2. Okay. Now child 51 will extend the property of parent 31. Clear? Of this particular parent class, data is accessed by another child class 51, where number 3 is available, addition method is available, but here it will find the addition between number and one number 3. Okay. And it will display the summation of number 1 and number 3, not to any other. Okay. Now the question will come. So let's analyze first, then it will be easier for us to create the object. Okay. So parent 31. Okay. Inside that, number 1 is the variable, get is the method. We are defining another class, that is my child 41, this one, which is extending parent 31. So that means number 1 will come, get method will come also. Along with this, child 41 is having its own methods, own variable. So number 2 is the variable, input is the method, addition is also the method, along with show is also the method of child 41. Similarly, child 51 is another class having number 3, res variable, then get 3 as the method, along with show method. Okay. So due to inheritance, it is accessing the property of parent 31. So number 1 is coming here, get is also coming here. Okay. Now if I want to perform the addition of number 1 and number 2, everything is available to child 41 class. So I'll create the object of child 41 class. If I want to perform the addition of number 1 and number 3, it is available to child 51 class. So I'll create the object of child 51 class. So in hierarchical inheritance, you have to see which operation you want to do. If you want to perform the operation of one class, then you have to create the object of the corresponding class. Okay. So we are having multiple number of options. So multiple objects can be created as per the requirement. Okay. So let's see here how many classes there? Child 41, child 51. So first I am creating the object of child 41, one child class. I am calling the get method which is belonging to the parent class. I am calling to the input method addition so. So this is done for first object. Okay. So I'm giving the message for clear understanding. Okay. So the same operations we are doing once again. The same operations we are doing once again, but we are not calling get3 method here because get3 is not belonging to child 41. Okay. Second object, this is for child 51. Let's say it is ob1. I am creating for child 51 class. So ob1 dot get, because get method is also available to the child class as get belongs to the parent class, but input is not a method of child 51. You will call the get3 method addition method so method. Clear? So let's save the file. Okay. Okay. RES, you have not declared RES here. RES belongs to child 51 class, so you cannot access this one. But due to inheritance, I can access the properties of another parent class, not any other class. Okay. Now operation of first object. Clear? So it is asking for the first value means you are accessing the get method of the parent class. Then it is asking for the second value means the first child class. Okay. Now it is performing the addition and result is being shown. Now the second object for the next class, next child class, you are calling the first value means as a second child class also you can access the properties of parent class. So 55. Third value means the second class object. Okay, 65. It is also performing the operation. Okay, separately. So in hierarchical inheritance, one parent class will be there, which will be shared by all the child classes present in the program. Okay, and you have to create the objects of individual child class as per your requirement. Clear? So inheritance as a concept is very simple. Once the problem will be given, do some rough work, do some diagram, which class is the parent class, which class is inheriting which class. Just find out the relationship between all the classes. Keep the separate methods variables inside the classes. Once your diagram will be over, one clear idea you will get that this is what inheritance is all about, and I have to implement this class, I have to create the object of this class. So once everything will be clear, program is very simple. Okay. So thank you everyone for watching this.